This video is brought to you by patreon.com/worsttake. Get access to exclusive live streams and Discord servers, on-screen shoutouts, and early access to some videos when you join now. Help make sure that we can continue to make content like this by supporting the Patreon. Links are in the description down below.
This is going to be a really difficult one to talk about as far as what happened in this Browns game, because it felt like there was a different game happening every quarter in this game for the Cleveland Browns, with different problems arising every quarter in this game for the Cleveland Browns, right? You get the immediate hot start of this game where you get a fumble on a kick return that you recover, and then you get the touchdown on the first play, Deshaun Watson to Amari Cooper, and that's a huge boost to this team to start the game. After that game, until the third quarter, the defense played some of the worst football you ever seen the Cleveland Browns defense play. They were like 16 of 18 to Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones had 2 touchdowns. We couldn't do anything about Malik Neighbors. On the other side of the ball at the same time, the Browns' offensive line was struggling mightily against the blitz. They were not picking up things. They were not able to handle these stunts and twists well, right? Like, these became problems. Add on insult on top of injury. Joe Bitonio has to play left tackle because James Hudson goes down in this game. DeJuan Jones played an absolute stinker of a first and second quarter in this game. And then Jed Wills gets re-injured because of the bad play at tackle and guys getting ran into each other. So you have Joel playing left tackle, Ethan Posick playing left guard, at center, Nick Harris, and then at right guard, it was Zach Zinter? At right tackle, DeJuan Jones, who at some point in this game did get benched for James Hudson because he was playing that bad. DeJuan Jones was awful in this one, at least in the first 2 quarters of the game. So those 2 things are happening the first couple of quarters in this game. You had a hot start. Defense started hot, offense started hot, and an immediate cool off after that. Okay, we get to the second half. Now, the offensive line isn't that bad in the second half. I mean, in the third half, not the third half, third quarter of this game, right? I think the offensive line was fine. The defense was good in the third quarter of this game, but unfortunately, the offense was extremely unproductive in the third quarter and continued the trend that they had in the first 2 quarters, right? If you look at the Browns to start this game, right, they got the 1 touchdown drive, 24 yards to start the game because of the fumble, but they went punt, 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 punt. Oh, fumble. My bad. Fumble. DeJuan Jones got beat on a play. Ended up being a fumble. And then end of half, they took a knee, and then they went punt, miss field goal, punt, punt. That's what was going on. They did score a touchdown, I believe, in the fourth quarter of this game. Yes, the fourth quarter of this game. But up until the third quarter, the offense was non-existent. Now, in the first half of this game, I felt like the offense was non-existent because the run game was non-existent and the pressure was just too much. It didn't feel like it was a bad game from Watson in the first and second quarter. Where it started to feel like a bad game from Deshaun Watson was in the third quarter, because Deshaun Watson in the third quarter of this game was awful in the third quarter, right? The Browns had -2 yards on a drive. After that, 10 yards on a drive. So they're at 7 net yards. And then their best drive of the third quarter was 29 yards, 9 plays, and a punt. And then another 29-yard, 9-play punt drive. He was bad. And I thought there were opportunities for him to take advantage of that he missed in the third quarter. But the fourth quarter, Deshaun Watson played, I would say, very well in this game. Just other things decided to go wrong around Deshaun Watson. So in the fourth quarter, we just saw this. Deshaun's making plays. Amari Cooper's making plays. You know, the Browns get down the field. They score a touchdown. They even get the extra point, the 2-point conversion to bring this in within 6. So the Browns are in pole position to start the fourth quarter with 13 minutes left to take this game back. The defense has been holding strong all game up until this point. The Browns get the ball back. The defense gets another 3 and out. Offense gets the ball again, only down 6. They get to midfield. They're moving the ball again. Deshaun's making plays. They're moving the ball. Jerome Ford fumbles the snap. Jerome Ford fumbles the snap for no reason. It was right in his chest, clean handoff. He fumbles the snap. Huge missed opportunity for turn a drive that you could have at least got points out of, right? If you just get one more, two more plays, to a drive where you get nothing. So Jerome Ford fumbles. That's the first one, right? I know a lot of people are going to pin this on Cedric Tillman dropping that pass, but Jerome Ford fumbles. That's the first huge mistake in this game in the fourth quarter. Okay. Defense actually holds up. They get the drive starts at the 50-yard line. The defense holds up, forces a punt. Very difficult to do. They force a punt. Game's still alive. The Browns get the ball back, and they go out 4 plays on downs. Could not get a 3rd and 1 with Jameis Winston on the QB sneak. They go for it on 4th and 1. And Deshaun Watson, and I think on the film review, we're going to see Deshaun Watson missed Jordan Atkins wide open on the RPO and instead tried to run it himself to get the 1 yard, and that was a mistake. So Deshaun Watson, second mistake of the game in the fourth quarter that led to the Browns not winning this game. Goes out on downs, gives a field goal opportunity to the New York Giants, 48-yard field goal. Defense holds up, though. Don't let it be any closer than a 48-yard field goal. Because the Giants, I believe, on the next drive when the Browns went out on drives. Yeah, so the Browns go out on downs. They give the ball up at the Cleveland 29, but the Browns defense only doesn't allow a yard. They actually get a negative yard on that play and force a long field goal. And Greg Joseph misses the field goal. Browns still miraculously in this game. They get the ball again, and 3rd and 4, Deshaun has Amari Cooper open, and either Amari jumped too early or this ball was a little high from Deshaun Watson. We'll figure out when we look at the all 22, but you don't make a play that looked like it could have been there for Amari Cooper. I think the throw was a little bit off, but I might look at that in film and realize that Amari just jumped early. But either way, something goes wrong between the two here. You missed that opportunity. 4th and 5. Also on that 3rd down play, Amari Cooper goes down. He gets like a stinger. He ends up being fine, but he gets a stinger. And because they had to call an injury timeout and the Browns have no timeouts at this point, Amari Cooper can't come on the field for 4th and 5. There's no way you can get him on the field. So the Browns run a play call that they would have ran for Amari Cooper. It's a slant. They run it all the time in this situation. Cedric Tillman's open. The ball is perfectly in Cedric Tillman's chest, and Cedric Tillman doesn't catch the ball. You could blame one person. You could blame one thing, and you'd be technically right, but you'd be wrong in the bigger picture. What went wrong in that game in the fourth quarter? They couldn't make the play to win the game offensively. Deshaun couldn't make the play to win the game. When Deshaun made the play to win the game, Cedric Tillman couldn't make the play to win the game. When Amari Cooper gets open to help you win the game, Deshaun can't get the ball there to him. Jerome Ford can't hold on to the football. The Browns absolutely refused to win this game from an offensive standpoint. Because at least as much complaining as we could do about the defense giving up 21 points, they stopped the bleeding in the second half. They took care of the problem in the second half. We can complain about 21 points to the New York Giants. That stinks, that sucks, all of that. And that's true. I'd agree with you. But the Browns are going to have to score more than 20 points at some point to win a football game. You're not going to win every game by scoring 18 points. You got to score over 20 points at some point. So yeah, the defense shouldn't have gave up 20, but you got to score the points. You got to score the points. You got to take the opportunities there. So yeah, defensively, not their best outing, but the offense had so many opportunities to win this game. And Jerome Ford at one point didn't make that play. At one point, it was Deshaun Watson. Hell, at one point, it was Jameis Winston that didn't make the play to win the game. At one point, it was Amari Cooper. At one point, it's Cedric Tillman. It's the offense didn't make the plays to win the game. The opportunities were there. The offense did not capitalize on this game. That's my overall view of it, right? This all on the offense because you got to make those plays. At home, you got to make those plays. You cannot get, how many drives did the Browns get only down 6 points offensively? The Browns got 1, 2, 3 times to take the lead in this game. 3 drives to take the lead in this game. 5-play, 34-yard drive, ended in a fumble, Jerome Ford. 4-play, 9-yard drive that ended on downs. And another 4-play, 6-yard drive that ended on downs. The Browns did not have a single scoring drive in this game that started from the 20. Now, we're going to have some tough conversations about some players here. Thought Amari Cooper played well in this one. Didn't get a ton of separation, but Amari Cooper, unless it's schematic, is not going to get a ton of separation. I mean, he wasn't doing that last year. So, not really tripping off Amari Cooper's performance. 7 receptions, 86 yards, 2 touchdowns. I feel like if I'm blaming him solely for this game, I'm pointing my finger in the wrong direction. The run game was really disappointing today. 18 carries, 69 yards. In the second half, it got going. In the first half, I believe Jerome Ford had 7 carries for 7 yards. So in the second half, it really got going a little bit better. I think Deshaun added to that too. But the first half, this was really disappointing. The offensive line looked better post-injuries than they did before the injury, so that's a concern. The Browns really want to play a lot of empty this year. I think they got to rethink that. I don't think they're going to be able to get away with that amount of empty. And it was obvious today in the first 2 quarters, they just can't get away with that amount of empty. They're not good enough. So that's another problem that they have to deal with. It's a lot of places you can place some blame here. I think offensively, what concerns me about this game? I would be a little bit concerned about Deshaun. He didn't play awful, right? 21 of 37, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns. You can flip that into a decent game for him. It's not an awful game. It's like 60-something% passing or somewhere above 50% passing, 196 yards. It's not a good game. Nobody's going to define it as a good game, but it's not a bad game. It's just a very mid game. Where I am concerned about Deshaun is it seems like, for whatever reason, the fourth quarter is the only time he can look like his old self. And another thing to be concerned about is, we talked about this before this game, what you're going to see from New York is a lot of different coverages that you did not see against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I know there's some people in the audience who would like to ignore the fact that that Dallas game happened, but it did. And that Dallas game raises a lot of concerns. Because what Dallas did was mix up their coverages a lot. And that seemed to confuse Deshaun. What New York did was mix up their coverages a lot. And it seemed to confuse Deshaun. It doesn't feel like the issues in week 1 are just going to be isolated to week 1. I feel like the issues from week 1 are showing more evidence of being apparent when it comes to what Deshaun is struggling against, man. It's a real concern. It is a real concern that has happened again. Again, he didn't have a bad game. I'm not saying bench Deshaun Watson because of this performance. It's unacceptable. He got sacked 8 times. It's not a horrible game, right? Offensive line obviously didn't help him out in the first 2 quarters of this game. I thought the third quarter from him was actually legitimately bad. And we'll see what the film says in the fourth quarter, but I think we could walk away from that feeling a lot worse about the fourth quarter, given what those last 2 drives look like from him. And the opportunities that seemed like they were there that could have been on the throw, could have been on how Amari Cooper attacked the passes. Still, man, and this is where I have to address that the bar, we're so lost with where the bar should be with Deshaun. But the bar's got to be higher than this. If we're like, oh, this is good, this is what we expected from Deshaun, that tells us we're in a bad, dark place. Because we should expect Deshaun Watson to be able to make some of those plays, especially when he has 3 stabs at it to win the game. Like, we should expect him to be able to do that. It's what you traded him to do. And he just wasn't able to do it in this game for whatever reason. You could blame it on Cedric Tillman because that was a drop that one time, but there was a throw right before that where Deshaun could have probably made a better throw. There was the 4th-and-1 situation where he probably could have made a better decision on 4th down instead of trying to run it himself, and they get off the field. Like, mistakes were made in that 4th quarter, and some of those mistakes were on the quarterback position, and you expect him to be better. So I can't walk away from this thinking, oh, man, I got nothing to worry about at quarterback. Like, that's ridiculous. I got stuff to worry about with the offensive line, of course. You got stuff to worry about with the defense, of course. But you got a lot of stuff to worry about with the offense, too. Let's talk about the defense here, man. I don't know what's going on with the defense, but for whatever reason, they seem unable to stop screens going left and right. I know the jokes are about the jet sweeps. The jet sweeps ain't been killing them. Screens, though, screens been killing them left and right. Can't do anything about it. Teams are getting all the way past the numbers, throwing these screens against the Browns defense and getting a ton of space. That's a Jim Schwartz problem. He has to fix that. Myles Garrett, I expect more from him in a game like this. Myles Garrett didn't get a sack, which isn't everything, but from a pressure standpoint, I don't think he was there as much as you would expect Myles Garrett to be there. He got 3 quarterback hits, so maybe the pressure numbers would be there for him. But I just didn't feel Myles' presence in this game. Myles hasn't had the hot start to the season we hoped he would have. He's Myles Garrett, so you know he'll be better if he gets healthier. But still, you want a better start to the year than this for Myles. Thought Martin Emerson had a really forgetful first half here. He was getting picked on by Malik Neighbors. They ended up just having to give up and put Denzel Ward on Malik Neighbors to stop it. And to Jim Schwartz's credit, that was the adjustment that pretty much ended the scoring for the New York Giants. So while I'm not pushing the red button on the defense, I am a little bit concerned about this. This is a concerning performance from the defense. Offensively, it's concerning, and it's starting to make me feel like some of these issues the offense has, they might just have. Some of the issues might be Deshaun Watson. It doesn't feel like that's off the table to me. I know some people might feel otherwise, but I don't watch that game and think, oh, man, this is a quarterback not being lifted up by everything else around him and being dragged down. I watch that game and think, man, this offense stinks and the quarterback's not much better. Like at best, you could say he's a bystander at this point. It's not what you're paying Deshaun Watson to be a bystander. Sometimes I wonder if he's actively a part of the problem. Some of those sacks were Deshaun Watson's fault. There's a lot to clean up, man. You lost to the Giants. There's no pretty way to talk about this. You lost to the freaking Giants. They're not good. You let Daniel Jones come in here and have a career day. It's not good. Let Malik Neighbors break a rookie record against an elite defense. It's not good. The only thing positive I can say about it is that it's an NFC loss. And that if you're in playoff conversations, the NFC losses are the ones that mean the least. So at least your 2 losses are against NFC opponents. But does this make me feel confident about this team going into Las Vegas? No. Does this make me feel confident about this team going into even the Commanders? No. I don't feel confident about the Browns' ability to beat anybody because I don't feel confident in what team's going to show up week to week. This effort for most of the game was just completely lethargic. I don't know what's going on there. Like, it seems like they play worse at home. Like, I'm almost looking forward to the Browns getting on the road here. Because if they get on the road, feel like they're away from the fan base, and maybe that's better for them. Maybe they don't need to be at home. Maybe something's going wrong here. Maybe we're going to talk about the Browns' home defense being bad this year instead of the road defense. Who knows? Look, the Browns clearly aren't playing their best football right now. And that's something we've all pointed out, that the Browns are going to play probably the worst football of the year early in the season. That's fine. But it's got to get way better than this. It's got to get starkly better than this. Offensively, this just is not acceptable. Like, yeah, it stinks the defense scored 21, but like, man, you can't score 25. As much as we're paying that offensive line and Amari Cooper and everything else there, we can't score 25. As much as we're paying the quarterback, we can't get 25 points out this offense. And if you can't get 25 points out this offense, then you got to consider making changes. Can't continue, man. Can't continue. We'll see what happens next week. But this one, a bad break at the end of it, sure. But man, the Browns had so many opportunities to put this game in their hands. And they just, nobody on that offense made the plays to make it happen. It's disappointing. It's disappointing. This was absolutely a game the Browns could have won, should have won. Even the way it played out, right? Even if you take the whole first half into consideration, even the way it played out, still should have won this game. You really should have won this game. This one's going to sting, man. This one's going to sting, and this one stinks. The Browns should have won this game. Even if they win this game, you got questions. But they should have won this game. Now they're 1-2. They go and play the Raiders, who've played some good football lately. But, they're just as up and down as you. And at some point here, the Cleveland Browns are going to have to prove to everybody again that they're a good football team. Because what we've seen these last 3 weeks haven't felt like a good football team. This hasn't felt like an 11-win team from last year. This feels like a bad team right now, and they got to play better football because this is just unacceptable. But that's my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have a better night. Peace.